I have to stick with a torch.
Hey, welcome friends to another live stream from Crazy Women Country. I'm Donna.
I'm Paula, and today we have Cheley Tackett with us. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, no worries. So, obviously, you're pretty well known, but just in case we have somebody who doesn't know you, tell us who Cheley is.
That's kind of a deep question.
I know.
I'm still finding myself.
We start with difficult stuff beginning early.
Paula.
You know, I don't beat about the bush here. Come on, let's do this.
I'm a singer-songwriter in Nashville, Tennessee. I like to joke that I'm somehow a veteran of this town and a rising artist at the same time, which I don't think a lot of people can say.
That's awesome.
I seem to have flown under the radar for 20 years. I don't know.
You know why you've flown under the radar? You're too short.
Well, you know, that's...
You need bigger heels on your boots.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up as well.
You're 2 for 2 on her hit list. I'm saying.
Do this. I'm going to be blacklisted after this. Unfollow.
Cancel culture for Paula. You're out.
That's not fair. It's been too much fun there.
So tell us, what's one of your favorite things about being in Nashville and writing every day, and just what's one of the top things that every day is like, this is awesome?
The sheer amount of music and talent in this town. Like when I go outside of Nashville, some of my friends want to go hear some music or something, unless it's like a pretty big act, you're not in Nashville. I mean, we did, they do movies in the park here before the pandemic. And so down in one of the biggest parks in the center of town, they would do movies every Saturday night, I think, or every Friday night. And the city did it and it was free. And so I'm just giving you an example. So we went to see Grease because we thought it would be fun, put a little picnic together, go sit in our little camp chairs with a lot of the community and watch Grease. Well, I mean, there are hundreds. Sometimes the movies could draw, actually a couple of thousand people. And here are all these people and they start singing along, which you expect because it's Grease. We all sing along. And then I realized, this entire crowd is harmonizing in 3-part harmony throughout the entire movie. And it's gorgeous. And I'm like, that doesn't happen in other towns. No. Like, that's not going to happen in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, it's just not.
Everybody will be off key. Everybody will be everywhere else.
Yeah. Some of us would be lip syncing because we're just so talented singing.
My mom came and we went to go do a karaoke thing somewhere, and we put in her name, but then about 5 people got up and she went up and asked for her name back. She's like, if that's what karaoke is in Nashville, I'm not doing it here.
That is so funny. I love that. Yeah, you only do karaoke in Nashville if you can sing. I can imagine that.
Or if you've had one too many, I think,
Well, there is that, and that's you have no shame. And then I find what's funny. So like as an artist, and I know lots of other artists too, we don't actually like to sing karaoke because if we get up, we don't know if it's our key. Like and everybody knows this as artists, so it's like I can't get up there and sing a song if the key's 3 things high, and people will be like, "Well, Cheley Tackett can't sing at all." I try to choose like songs like Big Butts, things that are just crazy silly, and you don't really have to sing them, just in case because it's going to be a total mess of a show anyway. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Oh, we'll have to find secret places to do karaoke then.
Yeah.
That's it.
Outside of Nashville. So tell us, who are some of the women that inspired you to do music?
Wow. Golly. When I was 5, I very distinctly remember my grandfather having me learn a Jeannie Pruitt song called Satin Sheets. Satin sheets to lie on, satin pillows to cry on. Upon reflection, probably not the best song for a 5-year-old to be learning and singing, but that's, I distinctly remember that. I remember a lot of Barbara Mandrell because her television show was sort of a big thing when I was a kid. And so I remember a lot of the Mandrells. Then I got a little older. I really became a huge fan of Kathy Mattea. And I don't know if it's because she was a deep alto voice. And so that drew me because it was similar to my voice. And then I always respected sort of her song choices too. I always thought they were really interesting compared to other artists at the time. Mary Chapin, I always respected her as a songwriter too. Yeah. Dolly, who doesn't love Dolly?
How could you not love Dolly?
If someone doesn't love Dolly, I'm going to take them outside.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Do not say a bad word against Dolly. You'll see.
No. I have yet to meet anyone who doesn't like Dolly Parton. In Nashville, and that is a feat in this town. Like, everybody's got a story about somebody, but I have yet to meet anybody who doesn't love Dolly Parton.
How can you not love her? She's just amazing. She's just this amazing human being. So that's awesome. So cool.
Definitely. So tell us about your recent release. We were listening to The Last Live on May 21st there.
The Last Live. Well, look how handy that was. That I've got one too. Can you believe it?
Look, Peter, here's one we made earlier.
Ta-da! My best Vanna White.
There you go. See? Perfect.
I do a birthday bash every year. And I try to make it different every year. So for instance, last year, because of the pandemic, we were trying to figure out how are we going to do this? And I was trying to keep live music going in Nashville when all the venues were shut down. So I actually partnered with a couple of friends of mine that own a distillery, and they opened up their parking lot. And at first I just had a friend who pulled up like this little 15-foot trailer, and we used that as a stage, and everybody sat in their cars, and it was drive-in concerts. And so we started testing that, and it went over pretty well. So we made a summer series out of it, and then we did a fall series. Well, between those, I decided we could do the birthday bash out there, and called up my friend Erin Enderlin and was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this birthday bash. I'd love to have you come and play." And she was like, "I'd love to." And then because of the pandemic, my buddy Ashley McBride was home, and I called her up and I was like, "Man, I'd love to have you come and sing with me," because we used to play together a lot. It's like, "I'd love to have you come and play with me for my birthday." And so she did. So that was last year's birthday bash. The year prior, in 2019, I was going to record an album, a solo acoustic live album, because as I went out and played shows, as I toured, people would come up to the merch table and be like, "Do you have anything solo acoustic?" And I was like, "No." And they said, "Well, that's a shame, because most of the time when we come and hear you play, that's what you are." Yeah. Which is true, because I'm an independent artist, and it's hard for me to have the band and afford to fly them all over everywhere I'm playing. So 95% of the time, if I'm outside of Nashville, it's just me and a guitar playing music. But nothing I had ever recorded represented that. So I was like, I can do that pretty easily. And I knew that Mervyn, the owner of Douglas Corner, had recorded several live projects. He did one for Kent Blasey, and another one that was pretty well known for Guy Clark. And so I knew I would be in good hands with him. And that was sort of my home venue anyway. When I was in Nashville, that's where I played all the time. So I was like, well, for the birthday bash, we'll record a live album. And that's what we did, not knowing that, that was August 24th, 2019. Thankfully, it's easy to remember because it's my birthday. And then, of course, by March, we were all starting to shut down from the pandemic. So and I was talking to Mervin because we were trying to mix what we had recorded and go through those steps. And in the middle of that, he was like, I think I'm going to have to close the club. And I was like, oh, like, for a couple of weeks. He goes, Cheley, we don't know how long this is going to go on. Like, it could be a month, it could be a year. We don't know. And Douglas is a relatively small club. I think they capped out at like 125. So he knew he would be one of the last ones that would be allowed to reopen because it's a small space, kind of like the Bluebird's still not open. It's just too small a space for it to feel safe. So, and he said, even if I'm allowed to open, I don't know if people are going to feel safe enough to come in and be in this close to the quarters. Anyway, as a result of all of that, Douglas Corner ended up being one of the first venues to close because of the pandemic. We thought we were going to have that album out in spring of 2020. And then of course, all that happened, and then Douglas closed. And then of course, we had to postpone even mixing and mastering the album because he had to close his club and he had to sell off all the stuff that was in it. And he had a recording studio out back called the Ugly Truckling. It was the back of a big semi, basically, that he had converted into a recording studio so he could record live shows at Douglas Corner. And he had to dismantle that whole thing and transfer it over to his private residence and then put it all back together before he could mix the album. So by the time we got it all wrapped up and got the graphics and everything done, it was spring of, this year. And so I started talking to the PR guys and we were trying to find a date to launch it. I said, well, if we're this close anyway, I'd like to launch it as close to the date of him closing as we could. We were going to do it on the day of, but it fell, I think, on a Sunday. And the PR guy was like, let's maybe not release an album on a Sunday. Apparently that's frowned upon in the industry. So we did it. Who knew? Don't ask the artist. We don't know. So we did it on the Friday prior, as close as we could to the date that Douglas actually closed. So what ended up happening is I have the final recording ever to come out of Douglas Corner. And that's what this project is.
Awesome story. It's very sad as well, actually.
Yeah.
Very sad.
It is sad, but to be honest with you, originally I was just going to kind of do this as a fan release and have it on the merch table because people were requesting it. I wasn't going to make a big deal. I wasn't going to hire PR. I was just going to kind of put it on the website and on the merch table and let people grab it as they came to shows. And then of course, shows came to a full stop, but also because it's the last recording ever to come out of that historic venue, I was like, this just became a much sort of bigger thing unintentionally. And so then we ended up, doing more PR and hiring a group to help us with that to give Douglas Corner its due, even more than the project, to be honest. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I have to ask, at the start of the album, you say you don't like putting together
that list.
Yeah, that list. That's the one.
Yeah, I do that all the time. What's the word? It's really good for a songwriter to drop words, by the way. Yeah.
Is that actually true? Why don't you like putting them together?
So honestly, for shorter sets, half hour, 40, 45 minutes, I don't mind it as much because I generally have a really good idea of what I'm going to come in and hit everybody with and then head out. I have a really, that I've got almost down to my favorite 6 or 8, and I'll swap one out here or there, but I have a pretty good idea of what I'll go in with. But on longer shows, like for this, I think we actually did a 2-hour show and then whittled it down to fit on the CD. Yeah. And we basically trying to give me some grace because I talked a lot. No way. I talked a lot in the show and I said I was like, oh, just rambling at that point. Like, we don't need to hear that on the CD. And then I had a song called Sky Is Falling that we had thrown in. It's actually sort of a rock song and it's on my Here album. And in the middle of the song, the guitar went terribly out of tune, like horribly awry. And Mervin and I were sort of figuring out what gets to stay for the CD. We kept everything in order, so it's not like you're not getting the show. You're getting the show, but we did have to axe a few songs just to get it to fit on one CD. And so Sky is Falling, I actually argued for, because I was like, but that's part of what happens playing live.
Yeah.
Things go out of tune. Bad things happen playing live sometimes. And then he's like, okay, we'll sit on that. You go home and listen to it a few more times. And about the third time through, I was like, that's not just out of tune. Like, that's painful to listen to. It's not even, the guitar went out of tune. It's like, let's not. So we got rid of that. But on the longer set list, the 2 hour, I feel like I just have a harder time finding the right flow and the rhythm for the longer sets. So I was working on it. I was trying for the live show, and I just got to the point where I was like, why am I putting so much energy into this? Like, let's let it be what it's going to be, So, which was probably in hindsight also a mistake, given the first two songs that got pulled out of the bag. But then I'm like, well, that's sort of what the universe decided it should be. And a lot of people have turned out to actually really like how it came and went, if that makes sense. So I would have never, ever chosen that as my opening number.
Well, there you go.
I guess it's a fine determination that it all happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
But the flip side, because I cut it up and cut up all the songs, put it in the bag, and let my wife take it around the room. The audience also got to participate more than they normally would. They had sort of a say in how things came to be that night.
Yeah, which is really, really cool, because the fans must have loved that. They must have thought that must have been cool. Cool.
Absolutely.
Yay. Okay. This is the fun part of the interview. I hope you're ready for this.
Yes. We call this 20 questions plus one now.
Yeah. It used to be quick fire questions, but now it's 20 questions plus one. We just changed it. The hell of it.
Who keeps track of the math on that? Because
I don't know. Donna came up with it last night, I think.
Because we both asked relatively 10 questions, and then we have one at the end that we ask, and then so it's 20 questions plus one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's no change to 20 questions plus one.
Perfect.
There you go. Told you we're crazy. We're just nuts. Okay.
So let's the analytical person keep track of the numbers.
Okay, that's right. I forgot. That's what
That's what
it's hard to believe, but every time they test my brain, I'm right down the middle between left and right, and I don't buy it, because every time math shows up, I'm just like, I can do it, but all right.
I totally get it.
20 plus 1.
20 plus 1. There you go. So we'll start you nice and easy. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Perfect. What sitcom family would you be a member of? Or TV family?
Well, they're not friends. They're their own family, Friends.
That's cool.
I think I'm Chandler's sister. I think my parents lied.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay. I've hung, somebody's hung. Okay. So if we had a look through your iPod or your computer or your phone, what would be your guilty pleasure music? What would be hidden in there that you don't want anybody else to know about?
Oh man. I secretly love Barry Manilow. So probably that.
I love that. That's very cool.
That's so close to country music.
It is close, yeah. Okay, so what's the weirdest, sweetest, or funniest thing a fan has ever done for you?
Wow. There have been a ton of sweet things. I am sort of constantly taken aback by the generosity of my fans and how loyal they are. We just got something in the mail yesterday. Somebody went to a restaurant. they came. I did a show for the release party for the CD, and they were part of the audience for that. We did it out on a friend's farm, so it was still safe pandemic wise, but we could have a ton of people and everybody could feel safe. And we had 90% of the tickets, I think they told me, were out of towners, which would really surprised me. You know, we kept everything at 100 too, so it didn't get too big that people didn't feel safe. So all the tickets were sold before we even announced them to Nashville. They sold out of the fan club, almost 90 out of the 100 sold to the fan club. So one of the folks that was in town had a hotel downtown and went to a restaurant, and while they were there, really liked the restaurant and thought that, for whatever reason, thought of my wife and I, and got us a gift certificate to that restaurant so that we could go have a date night there in the future, and sent it in the mail to our PO box. And things like that are just really amazing to me. I have fans in the Netherlands. I make jokes about Cheetos a lot, and made a lot of jokes in the pandemic. I wrote a couple of songs where I talked about eating Cheetos, and so they sent me from the Netherlands the Dutch version of Cheetos. Like, the fact that anybody thought to take the time to do that, and to pay the shipping on a bag of Cheetos across the pond, just that kind of stuff, it just blows me away.
That's so sweet. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Perfect. Okay. Boots or heels?
Oh, boots.
That was kind of a no-brainer.
You all knew the answer to that before it came out of your mouth, didn't you? Come on now.
Yeah. We're testing you here. You might have said something different that confused us. What's your favorite drink?
A cocktail or just drink in general?
Oh, we can go all out.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, whiskey.
Backwards to you.
Whiskey and coffee.
I am a big bourbon. I'm a big bourbon fan.
Jack.
Yeah. I like all of them. I like Jack a lot. I like Basil Hayden a lot. Suddenly, it's got a little spice thing going on. Non-alcoholic, I'm really into, and I never ever thought this would come out of my mouth, limoncello LaCroix right now. It tastes like limoncello. I don't know how they did that, but it's a sparkling water that tastes like a limoncello.
Wow, there you go.
I have to put that on my to-try list.
But otherwise bourbon.
Otherwise, bourbon rolls. Okay, what's your favorite holiday?
St. Patrick's Day. I know that's surprising to so many people, but it doesn't come with a lot of obligation like the other holidays do. I'm just expected to go drink a beer or a cider. That's it. Like, I can do that. I don't have to get dressed up. I don't have to get costumed up. I don't have to spend a lot of money. I just got to show up somewhere, wear a little green, drink a beer.
Perfect.
I love it.
A few Guinnesses, you'll be sorted.
That's it.
Okay. What's your favorite animal?
I have 2 dogs and a cat. So that's tricky. I probably favored the dogs, but we're not going to tell the cat. But she's a cat, so she just likes to come up and thwack you and drop stuff off the table for no good reason.
Yeah. They're independent bullies.
They want to love you when they want to love you, whereas the dogs always want love. So
yeah. That's funny. I love that. Okay. If you could add someone to Mount Rushmore, who would it be and why? Now, remember, it doesn't have to be anybody political. It can be anybody in the world.
Dolly Parton.
We have to get Dolly up there.
Correct answer, no.
Dolly for Mount Rushmore. Let's make shirts.
Yes. She's had the most votes. We need to get her up there. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Jerry Reed.
There you go. That was quick. Most people have to think about it.
I know it because first of all, it's a distinct memory for me. Secondly, how funny that Jerry Reed was. I was like 7, I think. He's the first one I remember, and I know my mother took me to see Donnie and Marie, but I am relatively sure that Jerry Reed came before Donnie and Marie. So I remember sitting on my dad's lap watching Jerry Reed. So and other people think it's funny because in this next batch of songs that are working themselves into a pile toward a new studio album, there's about 3 of them that sort of have what I think like kind of a Jerry Reed feel. And I don't think I've ever been able to say that necessarily. Maybe I have a song called Fried Chicken, maybe a little bit that one, but I don't know why suddenly he's showing back up through me a little bit, but.
That's cool. We've got a vibe going on here. That's what it is. Awesome.
So what's your favorite color?
Ooh, purple. It just always has been. I don't even know necessarily the who, what, when, where, why of that. It's just, I like purple.
Just there.
I like purple.
That's perfect.
I wear mostly black, but I like purple.
That's cool.
What's the best thing since sliced bread?
I feel like that's a trick question, but
Oh, I forgot to mention at the beginning of this that there are no right or wrong answers here.
Yeah.
I can find a wrong answer. If there's one to be found, I'll find it. Don't you worry.
Whatever goes.
I'm trying to think of, this is a really lame answer, but I think the Amazon Fire Stick is something genius. That I'm just like, what's made my life easier? I'm like, that's lame. That's a TV thing, but
it's awesome.
It's made a big difference in our TV watching capabilities.
I'm with you on that one, that's for sure. Mine goes everywhere with me, so yeah, I get that.
Yeah. If you could talk to anyone, alive or dead, who would you want to talk to, and what would you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, man, what? That's who.
I know we only have a couple deep questions, I promise.
Well, I'm about to get real sad on you because I looked over. Hang on.
Oh.
This is my friend and co-writer Randall Clay, and we lost him a couple years ago. And I would want to have a conversation with him. I would want to write a song with him again, to be honest with you. But I have a lot of questions for Randall. Lots and lots and lots of questions.
Beautiful answer.
Yeah.
So if you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
It would have to do with history. I don't know if I would be teaching it or just working in research of it. I love history. It also finds its way into my songs in peculiar ways sometimes, but it would hit. My degree is actually in teaching history and geography and political science, but history is my favorite of the 3 concentrations I have. So something to do with history.
That's awesome.
Because there are so many jobs that are so easy to find regarding history if you're not teaching.
Yeah.
We'll just make one up for you. It'll be fine.
Well,
yeah.
So I chose the easier path of being an independent singer-songwriter.
Definitely. I love that.
Yeah. I can see how easy that is. Yes.
Oh yeah. Piece of cake.
If you could be a Disney character, what character would you be?
Oh man. I think I'd like to be Merida, but I'm probably a little more Nemo.
That's a complete contrast. Nemo different to Merida.
I feel like I'm just wandering through the world trying to figure it all out, find out where I am most of the time, but I like to think I'm more, this little brave girl. I'm more a lost
in my head, just keep swimming, keep swimming.
Keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Yeah. We were talking about the other day. So I have no clue who I would actually pick. But now that you said that, I'd probably pick someone in there. Maybe Dory, just because I touched the jellyfish. That would be me. Like, I'd be like, let me touch it.
You keep me company.
Oh. So, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
There's one here. We have Jenny's ice cream here, almond butter brickle.
Okay, so anyone that's in Nashville, you're gonna have to go to Jenny's because that's all we hear about for ice cream. So, just saying.
Well, it's funny too because I'm originally from Ohio, so she originated in Columbus, Ohio, and then her next store was Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm like, Jenny's just following me around. Like, I'm meant to be a Jenny's ice cream fan.
Maybe that's your hidden job. The history of ice cream.
Jenny's ice cream. I'd be good at that.
What's your current favorite go-to snack?
Because I do not have Cheetos in the house, York peppermint patty minis are the bomb right now.
How comes there's no Cheetos in the house? That's not good.
Because I had to say, okay, we gotta take a minute. I mean, because when the pants, like, everybody's got pandemic issues. We're all in the same boat on that front. But like, how many of us can directly point to Cheetos and say that they're the problem? So we had to
cut them out.
I can't even be like moderation. I'm like, we gotta not have those in the house for a little bit.
Perfect. So hypothetically, if I came to Nashville with a dead body and said, will you help me hide it? Do you know a good place?
I know every sinkhole in Kentucky.
Sweet.
That is awesome. We definitely know who we're going to now.
Somebody said that to me once and I was like, I'm gonna use that forever now.
So tell us what we get theme song for your life.
I have a song called Homegrown, not Zach Brown's Homegrown, my Homegrown. Probably that.
Perfect.
Wonderful. So if you could give our audience a recommendation of an album, an artist, a song that they should listen to before they die, what would you tell them?
Oh, man. Wow. So many lists. Jason Isbell, Elephant. Ashley McBride's Sparrow is the song. And that's off of her Never Will album. Springsteen, Land of a Thousand Guitars.
Awesome. Perfect.
All great ones.
Okay, now this is the most important question of your entire career. Okay, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Okay. Who is your favorite CWC host?
Who is my favorite
CWC host?
Crazy. Oh! I'm running through networks in my head, you know. I'm like,
you didn't answer. Did you see that? It was like, no, laugh it off and then smile.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out.
Damn this internet thing.
That's a kind way to plead the fifth.
Oh no, you're frozen.
That's so funny. Okay, we'll move on. So tell us, what does the rest of what have you got in store for the rest of 2021? I can't talk.
Let's see. I have some actual dates with live human beings to sing to, which is,
Awesome.
Sort of a new exciting thing. So the end of July, I am playing in Henderson, Kentucky as part of their Songwriters Festival there. It's called the Sandy Lee Song Fest, and I am there, I think, the Friday, July 30th. And then in August, I'll be up in Occoquan, Virginia, which is just outside of Washington, D.C., playing Mill Creek Park, and they call it Music on Mill. I've done that for the last couple of years, and thankfully they keep inviting me back. So I'm there August 7th. And then September is just, I don't know why everything tends to land in September, but that the last few years, that's sort of been the deal. It's like everything's quiet and then September comes. September 2nd through the 6th, I host a fan event in St. Croix, Virgin Islands, called Tackett to the Limit. And I partner with a boutique hotel there called Sandcastle on the Beach. And it's basically 4 days on the beach of me playing songs on the beach. And we do some little events, like my wife likes to take a group snorkeling. I do a songwriting class. And then I do a night where I call it Cheley, where I have everybody in advance give me songs that they want to sing along to, like Brown Eyed Girl or Margaritaville or whatever. And we'll do that for a couple of hours so everybody else can sing too, and not just me. And then I do performances every day, generally right by the beach. And so usually the bulk of the hotel are all just my fans hanging out together.
Wow.
Hanging out with me by the beach. And then we're going to come back to Nashville for 3 days and turn right around and fly out for Denmark. And I am playing, it's a brand new festival, and they're really excited because so many of the other festivals haven't been able to go forward this year. And they're pretty sure all things are looking like a good green light for this festival. So it's the first ever, they're calling it the Nashville Nights International Songwriters Festival. And I'm booked a couple nights there. I'm also hosting a panel that I'm going to ask you guys to give me questions for. I'm hosting a panel of myself and 3 other women. It's Allie Colleen, Terry Jo Box, and Kristen Kelly. And we're talking about women in country music. And so I'm actually going to be reaching out to journalists and country music bloggers and asking for questions to put forth to the panel. So, but I'm also playing a show there, and I'm hosting around there. And that's all sort of still to be announced. They've got the panel announced, and they have the time and the date of my writers round announced. They just haven't announced who else is on it with me. Yeah. But some of the other names that are going, they've got Bob DePiro, Jeff Steele, Anthony Smith, Bridget Tatum, the women I just mentioned on the list. There's so many. Ava Page is going. I think Peyton Taylor's going. Dan Smalley, Trick Savage, Barrett Baber. I'm trying to think because Bobby Pinson's going. They have 80 acts. Wow. And about half of them are from the States and the other half are from Europe, with I think a large portion of the European side actually coming from Denmark itself. So lots of Danish acts combined with lots of American acts. And then I think what they're going to do, what their plan is to bring that over here so that they're doing one there and one here each year.
That'd be cool.
To sort of, and it's all just to promote. Country music's just sort of starting to open up in Denmark. Like they're not huge on country music there yet. Germany's pretty big on it. The Netherlands, it's really growing. The UK is the fastest growing market for country music. But Denmark's still not sure about all of us just yet. So my buddy Blue Foley paired up with our friend Stefan Mork and came up with this idea. So off to Denmark for September we go.
Perfect. That'd be awesome. That'd be
cool. Wonderful.
Perfect. So that's great. I don't want this to end now. I've had way too much fun. Way too much fun.
Absolutely.
I'm too.
So maybe sometime November, December, we'll have to get together and have a drink.
Yeah.
I like it.
We can make it a regular thing, once a month. Piss up by Zoom.
You know how they do drunken history? I thought it would be funny to do a drunken, live stream, basically.
That'd be cool.
I'll try to sing a song, but could go, Ryan.
That'd be so cool. This has been so much fun. Seriously, this has been an absolute blast. Absolute blast.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for asking great questions and making it easy. We've done the +1 as well?
Oh, yeah, the +1 was who's
Yes.
your favorite?
Okay. The host.
Host.
That was the host question. That was the.
You ignored that question, so I don't know.
But that's okay. You have a chance at the end of the year to vote again when we have the actual poll go up on our website or wherever. You will have to vote. Okay.
On who the favorite host?
Because because we might have more than just Paula and I. Since Tigger's still winning, Bilbo's in second.
I'm sorry, I thought everybody gets a trophy. Isn't that how it works these days? Just everybody gets a participation trophy and.
Oh yeah, but it's who gets the biggest trophy.
It's fun. Yeah.
You always have a bigger than yours.
Here's your size trophy. Here's my size trophy. Little ones. Well, thank you, friends, for joining us for another episode.